All right, welcome everybody. This is Cooking Up Sales with Cast Iron. I am Sid of the Sugar Coin Academy, and I am an ambassador for Cast Iron. And I'm excited to be sharing this content with you guys because I also am like a pricing nerd. So we'll be able to nerd out about pricing, but definitely if you have any questions that come up during the presentation, go ahead and drop them in the Q&A area so that we can check those out and I can address those towards the end of the session. Let's see. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. We're going to get the ball rolling. So welcome in everybody. I'm excited to have you here. Like I said, I am Sid. This is Cooking Up Sales with Cast Iron. This is a monthly session that we've been doing for maybe 5 months now, I think. And we've covered all different types of topics related to writing descriptions for your products, to ways to make more money and increase your sales. And so today we're going to be talking about pricing mistakes. As we all know, the price of everything is crazy right now. Eggs, gas, gas is coming back down. Butter, that type of stuff has just been all over the place. And so I wanted to address some pricing mistakes that may be hurting you in your business. All right. So we're going to do a brief introduction, and you know what, let me go ahead and go over the agenda. We're going to do a brief introduction. We're going to do an overview of the topic, and then we're going to talk about some pricing mistakes, and then there'll be an open opportunity for Q&A. So introduction, who am I? I am Sid Mitchell, and like I said, I'm of the Sugar Coin Academy and SweetFest, which are two brands that support the industry, the food industry, and the way of providing business resources for you all to make sure that you have all the tools that you need in order to be successful and to have profitable businesses. And so that pink logo and the little black logo with the little piggy bank, those are SweetFest and Sugar Coin Academy. But then also in my background, I'm a financial analyst as well as an accountant by trade. I went to the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill's Keenan Flagler Business School, and everything that I talk about is related to business, numbers, marketing, sales, all that kind of stuff. My background, I worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is one of the largest public accounting firms in the world, as well as Lincoln Financial, Comcast, and as well as Apple. So everything I do is related to numbers. I enjoy talking about business. I nerd out about that all day long. So definitely feel free to drop any questions that you have for me, either in the comments section if you're watching this on YouTube, or in the Q&A if you're watching this during the live session. All right. The other brands that I've worked with over this time that I've been in this cake and foodie world, the American Cake Decorating Magazine, I have a column in there called Sweet Boss, as well as I'm the business blogger for the Retail Bakers of America, which is a business resource and association for folks in the industry, as well as Pastry Arts Magazine. I've worked with them on their podcast, as well as their Pastry Arts Summit, which is going to be coming back up here later, I believe in June. And then of course, Cast Iron, which I enjoy absolutely working with as well. So also behind the scenes, we've got Emily. She is our point of contact over at Cast Iron. She's going to be the person that will be able to help you provide technical support or any other question support as well as we go through this process. And so if you are watching this video or you're here in the live session, definitely make sure you write down help plus cooking up sales at castiron.me and use Emily as a resource if you have any questions related to how things work, getting your store set up and so forth. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like this video. Also, make sure that you follow and subscribe to Cast Iron's YouTube channel, as well as the Sugar Coin Academy's YouTube channel. If you're not familiar with Cast Iron, you definitely need to be in the know because they are a great platform for you to start selling your bakes and treats and other food items online. And they actually have all the back-end support to help you with being in a really great place to sell to your customers, such as having a calendar, such as having custom order forms. So make sure you look out with Cast Iron and get connected and start selling even for free. All right, so here's an overview. Today, we're going to be talking about pricing mistakes. All right. So in this session, we'll be discussing pricing mistakes that may be hurting your business. Pricing can be tricky, especially if math is not your thing. I've heard so many people say that in business. They're like, I'm not a math person, but you don't necessarily need to be a math person. You really just need to know how to, add, subtract, sometimes multiply and divide, but there's all kinds of formulas out there to be able to help you as well. But pricing can be tricky, but it can have a significant impact on your business profitability if you don't get it right. All right. So it is can kind of be scary, but don't worry, we have the resources for you. Okay. Many food businesses, there we go. Many food businesses struggle to determine the right pricing structure and strategy that will allow them to remain competitive while also achieving their business goals. Without proper pricing strategies, most food businesses will quickly find themselves in financial trouble, which is why in this session, we will be discussing 6 of the most common pricing mistakes that could be hurting your business. All right. Number 1 is setting prices too low. All right. Setting prices too low. You guys have all seen it. You may have even done it in the past. All right. So one of the most common pricing issues in the food industry is setting prices too low. And I can understand why you would be tempted to do it. I really do. All right. This can happen for a variety of reasons, such as wanting to undercut the competition. I've seen that a lot, especially in the cake world, where there's another cake lady who's up the street and she's got a storefront, and you in your mind are like, well, I have a home-based business, and so I don't need to charge as much. That actually may not necessarily be true. So definitely make sure that you understand your numbers before you go undercutting someone else just for competition's sake and just because you're trying to get more business. All right. So undercutting the competition or not understanding your actual cost of producing the item, these are reasons why people have prices set too low, and you do not want to be one of those people because it can be very dangerous. All right. And matter of fact, I'm getting ahead of myself. Setting prices too low is a dangerous game because it can make it more difficult to turn a profit or cover the basic expenses to keep the business running. So you need to understand your cost, and you need to set your price based on that cost so that you can cover all the expenses in your business. All right. So don't worry about, well, I'm trying to get more sales. And so if I charge less, then maybe I'll get more people to purchase. Well, here's the thing. If you charge more, then you don't have to worry about having a ton of people purchase from you because you're going to be covering more, you're going to be making more by charging more, as opposed to having fewer people paying less, more people paying less. Does that make sense? All right. Hopefully it does, because I feel like I've said it backwards a little bit. But low prices can also send the wrong message to customers, such as the items you provide are cheap, and you definitely don't want to be the cheap cake person or the cheap bakery person. You want to make sure that people understand that you are providing quality, and sometimes lower prices can indicate that something is not of good quality, and we already know that you're making quality products with quality ingredients and resources. Lower prices also attract a certain client base that I'm pretty sure you don't want to have, okay? The certain client base may be deterred if you ever change your prices. All right. So imagine this. You set your prices really low. You're selling cupcakes for 50 cents a cupcake. Lord, please don't. But let's say you're selling it for 50 cents a cupcake, and you've been doing this for 2 or 3 years. And then you realize, oh my gosh, the price of eggs is making it where I can't sell cupcakes for 50 cents anymore. I'm going to bump it up to $4 per cupcake. There are people who have been buying from you for 3 years who are used to your cupcakes being 50 cents per cupcake, and now you're bumping it up to $4. And now you're going to have to basically start over building a customer base. So you want to start off really strong with your pricing. Okay. To maximize profits, you should set your prices to match your actual costs while remaining in line with your local market. Using others' prices. So this is another huge mistake that I see in the industry all the time, where people are not calculating their own costs, but they're just blindly using someone else's pricing. That is a big no-no. All right. Another major pricing mistake in the food industry is to blindly use a competitor's pricing. It makes sense to compare. You should compare your pricing with others in your market because you want to make sure that you're being competitive, but you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're using it just because that's what someone else is charging. All right. So it makes sense to compare your pricing with others. However, selling items without taking into account your actual costs is a recipe for disaster. Since you likely don't know all of your competitors' costs, such as how much they pay for ingredients, their rent, their utilities, all that kind of stuff, using their pricing can result in you setting your prices too low, which could result in a decrease in your profits and inability to cover your actual business expenses. And I always use this example as you never know what another person is paying for their resources, right? So for instance, let's say that I have a bakery and Emily, who's behind the scenes, she has a bakery, but Emily's brother-in-law also works at the local grocery store, and he is able to give his employee discount for eggs and butter and milk and everything else. She gets that employee discount, whereas I shop at the exact same place and I have to pay full price. Well, Emily is able to charge a little bit differently for her products because she is getting it at a lower cost than what I am. But let's say that I blindly use Emily's pricing, I'm going to be in a world of hurt because now I may not be able to afford to match the exact price that she is paying, all right, or that she's charging. When setting your prices, you should compare your pricing to your competitors to make sure that you are able to compete in your market. That's really the only reason why you're making a comparison, is to make sure that you are in line with the market. However, your selling price should focus on your actual business cost, not the competitor, right? So it's more of, I set my own price based off of my actual costs. And after I figure out what my price should be, then I look over to my competitors and I say, yeah, my stuff is pretty much in line. And if my stuff is not in line, then maybe I need to find another vendor to be able, or other vendors to be able to help me get my costs down so that I can be competitive within the market. Or I figure out a way to make my products sell better at the higher price because of whatever my unique selling proposition is. So another issue is selling items out of season. Another pricing issue in our industry comes when selling items that include ingredients which are out of season and are more expensive. Okay, so imagine you're selling something that is related to pumpkin in the spring, summer, right? So you're selling pumpkin pies in the summer. That actually doesn't really line up because that's not the right appropriate season for pumpkins, okay? Offering a seasonal menu allows you to take advantage of better vendor pricing when ingredients are actually in season, since more availability typically means lower costs. So for instance, if you have a strawberry vendor that you connect with, I don't know when strawberries are in season, but let's say the summertime, I think that's when they're in season. All right, so you have a strawberry vendor that you always work with, and you're getting strawberries from them in the wintertime. They're going to be more expensive because there's less availability, because the strawberries are probably going to be out of season depending upon your location. Whereas they're going to be a little bit cheaper when it comes to summertime because there's more availability of strawberries. All right. So seasonal menu changes can also build community with your customers who look forward to enjoying their favorite flavors annually. And I didn't have a picture of the Chick-fil-A mint milkshake, but that is absolutely one of my favorite milkshakes from Chick-fil-A. And I look forward to the end of the year when they have that mint milkshake available. So I have like an equivalent picture here. But you can really build your tribe and your community by offering something that is fun, but only seasonal, something that's delicious, but only seasonal. And you can build your community around that, where people kind of look forward to it every year. Okay. Seasonal menus also allow you to provide menu items which include the freshest seasonal ingredients. So again, not trying to offer things that are out of season when they're also more expensive, but when they are available and fresh, in season, and also affordable for you to make some money. All right. So number 4, another mistake is failing to update pricing. Another common and very relevant, and which is actually the reason why we're even having this conversation right now, this very relevant pricing issue in the food industry is failing to adjust prices to account for inflation. It was actually the inspiration behind this particular training, because I saw so many people talking about the price of eggs and everything going up. So this is one of the biggest mistakes I see from people, is that there is an inflation, there is a change in the market, and then not adjusting their prices accordingly. We've seen this more recently with the increase of the price of eggs, butter, gas, etc. over the last 24 months. Not adjusting prices to account for inflation can lead to smaller profits and slimmer margins. So imagine you set your price at $5, right? But your cost originally, and I'm again making up numbers, but your cost originally was $2.50. Well, before prices changed, you were making $2.50 off of every slice of cake. Let's say that's what we're selling. But when your cost went up because the price of eggs went up and now it's $3, so now you're only making $2 worth of profit. And the more that the price goes up, if you don't change your price, you're going to be getting less and less of a profit while the cost of your ingredients go up. And so you want to make sure that you are adjusting your prices accordingly so that you continue to make the right amount of money to meet your financial goals. Keep in mind that you don't have to change your prices every time the cost of an ingredient shifts by a few pennies. That's not what I'm saying. But in the situation where the cost of whatever, butter, oil, sugar, whatever the things are that are your core ingredients, if they're going up by whole dollars or whole tens of dollars, then this actually is something that you should look into. Okay, so keep in mind that you don't have to change your prices every time the cost of an ingredient shifts by a few pennies. However, it is important to review your pricing and expenses regularly so that you can make adjustments as needed. So that could be that you look at them annually, or you look at them biannually or quarterly, whatever it is that you set your mind to, or maybe you just, pay attention to the news headlines, or you're paying attention to your vendors and you adjust accordingly in that way. Okay. Additionally, it's important to track the prices of your suppliers. So as you go shopping, you need to pay attention to, or as you're purchasing things online, supplies and ingredients online or in person, you need to pay attention to, are the prices of my ingredients changing? So I'm not saying that you need to memorize the cost of every single item on your ingredients list, but you at least want to do that review, like I said, annually or more frequently than that. Okay, so track the prices of your suppliers so that you can anticipate any significant changes in the cost of your ingredients. You can see the trends, you see the writing on the wall, especially if you've been paying attention. So I believe this is number 5. All right, number 5, calculation errors and issues. Underestimating the cost of ingredients and failing to include all relevant expenses into the cost of an item is a major pricing issue in our industry. All right, so I've seen a lot of times where people just kind of estimate off of, this is what the raw ingredients cost, and they don't include their labor. I've seen that before. And so underestimating what all goes into creating the item is a really big pricing no-no that definitely will hurt you in your business. It can be tempting to base your prices only on the cost of ingredients. However, you have to take into account the cost of labor and overhead associated with preparing and selling the items, which I just said. So for instance, if you have a storefront, you need to make sure that you are including the cost of your rent and your energy bill and the water bill and all that kind of stuff in the overhead, and dividing that up over the items that you're selling and including that in the price. Some commonly forgotten expenses are delivery fees, consultation fees, insurance and marketing expenses, and so on. I could go on and on and on about some things that people usually forget, such as, like I said, labor. And you'd be surprised that people forget to add in labor, right? Because they're just, and especially when people are new in the industry, they'll come off of like, well, I do doctored box and my box costs this, and the cake box costs this much, and eggs cost this much, and so forth. And they do all the ingredients, but then they don't include like how much time it took them to do it. And time is your most valuable asset. You as a human being, time is your most valuable resource because we cannot get that back. Okay. And so make sure that you charge for your time, just like you would on any other job. You need to be able to get paid for doing the work, not just actually, putting not just actually the recipe and the ingredients. You need to cover all of that. Your labor is included in that. Okay. All right, so the bottom line to proper pricing is that you want to cover your costs and then add a profit, right? So figure out what your costs are right here. Then you want to add a cushion right above that. That's your profit, okay? I could get, like I said, I could go on, actually have gone on for hours about calculating your price. So definitely check out, I have another free training that you can dig a little bit deeper into how to calculate your price. It's found on sugarcoins.com/p/cake pricing. Okay. And Emily, hopefully you can put that in the comments as well as in the chat. So hopefully you guys can catch up there. Like I said, it's absolutely free, and it goes a little bit deeper into how to calculate the price. All right. So for more information, go to the Cake Pricing Explained, which is found at that link. Okay. All right. And then finally, the biggest mistake, I won't say the biggest, but one of the biggest mistakes is not leaving wiggle room. And this will make sense in just a minute. All right. So not leaving enough wiggle room for sales, promotions, or unexpected expenses is another common pricing mistake in the food industry. By pricing menu items too low, you may be leaving money on the table. That means people may be willing to pay more for something. If you price it too low, then you're leaving money on the table that you're never going to get. All right, so you need to have some wiggle room for the unknown and for promotional boosts. Okay. I think I spelled this. All right, so think about this like when you go to Michael's or, whatever, you want to be able to provide some type of promotional kind of cushion to be able to get that boost in sales. All right. Having a pricing strategy that allows room for sales and promotions is important to ensure that your business can still turn a profit and meet your financial goals while also offering buying incentives. All right, so I know specifically right now I'm talking about sales promotions and flash sales or whatever, but imagine if you did want to start offering wholesale production. Now, you may not be in a position to provide wholesale production to, outsource for other, cafes or something like that. But let's say that there is a cafe that is interested in buying your cakes, by the dozens, or maybe they want to buy your bagels by the dozens. Then if usually when people purchase wholesale, they want to have some type of buying incentive. And that's also something you can do if you have that little cushion available to kind of decrease a little bit, but still be able to turn a profit. All right. So these are incentives, and these are big mistakes that I'm seeing people make, from the beginning, that they don't leave enough room to be able to make that money and make those decisions, for their business. Okay. Of course, you don't want to offer discounts too often. Again, key Michael's. You don't want to, because like every time I go to Michael's, I already know I'm going to look at my email. I'm going to make sure I have a coupon. So you don't want to be that, but you do want to be able to have some type of incentives that you can offer on an occasional basis. Okay. So of course you don't want to offer discounts too often, because customers may become too accustomed to receiving discounts and expect them in the future. So you don't want to have that type of mentality to where you're offering discounts too much, like, every week or, every couple of weeks, but you do want to have some leeway for special occasions. Okay. The occasional holiday discount, such as like for Christmas, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, you want to be able to have something available for that. All right. So the occasional holiday discount or flash sale can help draw in new customers or provide you a boost in sales. Okay. However, you need to have your prices set in a way that allows you to turn a profit despite of a discount. Okay. So you want to make sure you have that little wiggle room. And I knew you guys would get it as soon as I explained it a little bit. Okay. So we're ready for the recap. See, this one flew by, you guys. Recap. First off, before we do a recap, if you guys missed the Food Entrepreneur Growth Summit, which we had earlier, you want to make sure that you catch the replay. Go to castiron.me/summit in order to watch all the replays. They're available on that page. I also had a session there related to email marketing, so definitely check that out when you have some free time. When you're in the kitchen, you can literally just go to that page and then watch every one of those videos, or listen to every one of those videos as you're working. Okay. Also, next month, March 14th, join me for a live chat over on Instagram. All right. So Cast Iron HQ on Instagram. Make sure you're following there. I'm going to be hanging out and answering questions that you guys will submit over in the private group. If you're not in the private group on Facebook, you want to make sure that you search for The Kitchen by Cast Iron. Join the group. And then we're going to be posting there next month so that you guys can get your questions out, and I'll be answering them live over on Instagram. All right. Also next month, so the week right after that, so that was March 14th, March 21st, and I failed to update the topic because I think I was trying to think of what the topic was going to be. But I did get the date right. So March 21st, we're not going to be talking about pricing mistakes, but we will be talking about something awesome related to business. So definitely keep an eye out for those emails as well. That's on March 21st. And I can't believe I didn't know. I can totally believe I didn't update the slide because I kept trying to think of what I wanted to talk about. But maybe you guys can tell me in the group what you guys would like to hear, and we'll work from there. All right. So, but either way, it's March 21st. That's not going to change. Okay, so for the recap that I promised. All right, common pricing mistakes. Number one was setting prices too low in order to increase sales. This is not a good strategy overall. I promise you it's not. You're going to attract people who don't want to pay you. You're going to find yourself being overworked because you're going to have more orders than you can stand. It's better to have higher prices and less clients than it is to have more clients and lower prices. And you don't want to be the McDonald's of baking. Okay. So setting prices too low in order to increase sales, that's mistake number one. Mistake number two is using other people's pricing. You don't want to do that. You never know who has the hookup on ingredients. You don't know who has a chicken coop behind their business and they can get their own fresh eggs. They're not really paying for that. I mean, maybe they're paying for the feed, but that's about it. Meanwhile, the rest of us are having to go over to, Sam's and get eggs by, the $50 or whatever eggs cost at this point. Number three, selling items out of season. Make sure you pay attention to when your ingredients are at a lower cost and maybe adjust your menu related to that so that you offer things when they are fresh in season and also when they are at a lower cost so that you can make more money and turn a higher profit for that. Okay. Number four is keeping prices constant despite market changes. So there are things that are going to happen. There's going to be inflation. There's going to be labor rate changes. There are going to be all kinds of changes in your business. So make sure that you continue to review the prices, the cost, everything related to your business, the numbers related to your business, and adjust your prices accordingly. Okay. Just do a review annually in the least, and maybe quarterly at best. Okay. Number five is bad calculations or not including all the costs and the fees. All right. So this is a no-no, obviously, because you want to make sure that you understand your own personal costs, because the bottom line to pricing is understanding your costs and then adding a profit. If you don't understand your costs, then you don't know how much more profit you need to make in order to make business, have a successful business and make money. Okay. Cool. And then number six is not leaving enough room for promos, discounts, and other unexpected things. All right. So you want to make sure that you are leaving that wiggle room in order to continue to make money, but then offer buying incentives for your customers or potential wholesale buyers or whatever it is that you that may come down the line for you and your business. Okay. All right. Any questions? Whew.
That was awesome, Sid. Thank you. My favorite part, my biggest takeaway was don't be the cheap cake lady. Don't be the cheap cookie lady. Don't be the cheap charcuterie board lady. We're not cheap.
Yes, that is definitely a takeaway. When I tell you, I actually had a thing of McDonald's fries as a picture on one of the slides, and I was like, do I want to be shady today? Let me just go ahead and put it down. But that was what I had in mind, is like, I don't want you guys to be known as the cheap cake person. There's a market for cheap cake, obviously, but I know that that's not what you guys want. I don't want you guys to feel overworked and underappreciated. So we need to have that, understand your costs and then set an appropriate price for it and, make those sales there.
Totally. We'll let the grocery store be the cheap cake people.
Right. I'm not about to compete with the grocery store. No.
Yeah, no. Don't forget to drop your questions in the Q&A if you have any. We do have one question. What would you say to a customer who is complaining about your higher price if you have to raise your prices?
Yeah. So, there's two ways to approach it, right? So for me, obviously I'm going to be the nice approach, right? And actually explain it to people. But the other approach is you know what, maybe we're just not a good fit for each other anymore, right? And, maybe I don't want to deal with them anymore. But let's just say we want to be nice today and we want to educate them, then just explain to them, this is what's going on. We have an increased price in the market. The groceries are not costing the exact same as they used to. And just like how you would like to have, a living wage on your job, I need to be able to pay my employees a living wage as well. And we're not trying to, run over anybody. We're not trying to get over on our customers. We're, pricing this appropriately. And, we're providing a quality service for you. And I hope that you can see that and that we can continue in our business together. And I think education is key, right? And, sometimes they may no longer be a good fit for you as a customer. And sometimes that hurts, especially if they've been with you since the beginning. But at the end of the day, we all are here to learn and grow and be successful. And so just educate them to the best of your abilities and just keep it moving.
Yeah, great answer. Sometimes you got to break up with them.
Sometimes a breakup is necessary.
What would you, if someone really feels like, I just feel guilty charging, as much as I really truly need to charge to cover my costs of ingredients, to cover my time, to, pay myself a living wage, they feel guilty about it, or they're just like, man, I feel bad charging that much. What would you say to them?
Oh, that's a struggle. That's a true struggle because, at the end of the day, as much as I know a good majority of folks got into this industry because they love baking and cooking and whatever, right? Well, remember when we used to have fun doing that before it was a business, right? Remember when it was fun being in the kitchen and experimenting and, creating recipes that our families loved and so forth. Just realize sometimes, you may want to get back to that love, which means that maybe this is not a business anymore. Maybe it's better to not be a business, or maybe it's better to support someone else's business, right? So for instance, there may be another bakery in town and then you work for that bakery. So then you can still continue to provide the, love and cooking and baking and everything else inside of someone else's business. And then you get paid and you get to go home and go to sleep, right? But then the other thing too, and I don't want to gender this question, but this feels like a very gendered question that we as women deal with, of oh, I feel so bad for charging this. And even though I know that this is what this is worth, your time is worth something. Your time is worth something on a 9-to-5 corporate job, and your time is worth something in your own business. So do not feel bad for charging for your time, even though it could be something that and I actually left this point out because I had it as a point, but not charging enough for your labor. And I was like, you know what, maybe we're going to run out of time. I'm not going to put it in there. Right. So I'm glad that we came to this point, but I've definitely have seen where people feel bad for charging $5-6 a slice because it doesn't take me long to do it. Well, it doesn't take you long to do it now, but that is because of the expertise that you have. That is because the education you have, taken time to get. This is because of all the time that you have put in behind the scenes in order to get to the place where it doesn't take me that much time, right? So if you think about this, just even on an even higher level, let's say lawyers, right? So lawyers at a law firm, the newbies even though they get paid nice for being newbies, they get paid a lower hourly rate than a partner that has been there for 30 years. And that is because they have provided, they have that experience. They have been through more things. They know exactly. And here's the thing. If a client comes to a newbie and asks them the question, the newbie is going to have to take 5 hours, 10 hours, whatever of research, because maybe they've never encountered that situation before. Whereas someone who's been at the law firm or been in law for 30 years is going to be, oh, I know the answer right away because I've already dealt with that over the last 15, 20, 30 years or whatever, right? And so it's in the same way that we need to look at, we are professionals in this field. We have expertise, and our expertise, as well as our experience, as well as the education we have, is all worth something. And you're also saving those people time and money, right? Because a mom who is buying a birthday cake, she could probably bake a cake too. She could go to Kroger, get a box mix and throw a cake together, but you are saving her time as well. And she has to pay for that. We all have to pay for other people's time. Okay. So don't feel bad.
Yeah, I feel like that's the ultimate like Facebook meme that like people love to share is like, you know, we paid $500,000 for this like plumber to fix this thing, and all he did was like tap his hammer once. Like, and it's like, why are you charging me that much? Because I knew where to tap my hammer.
Exactly.
Yeah, same thing. You are an expert, so charge accordingly. I love it. We do have one other question. How do we gauge how to include our labor when we do events that sell individual items at $5 or $6 an item? So I think the question is asking about, you know, when you're selling lower priced items, how do you make sure you're charging accordingly for your labor?
Yeah, so I mean, it's really going to boil down to like how much time did it take you to make the mass, right? Because I can assure you, you didn't bake just one cookie or just one cupcake at a time. It took you 3 hours, 5 hours, whatever, to bake the 7 dozen cookies or 7 dozen bagels or whatever it is. So you take that, so however much time it took you to make all of them, and then you divide that up by the individual, like how many came out of it, right? So if you had 7 dozen, and I'm not going to do math, so let's just say you made 50. Let's say it took you 5 hours to make 50, then, you know, you're just going to divide that by 50, right? Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes. So I would take my, it's like what, the combination of your hourly rate. So whatever you're doing that, then you're multiplying that by however long it took you to do your baking or your cooking, and then dividing that by however many products you're selling, however many pieces you got from that set amount of time that you spent, and then that's your labor charge.
Yes. So we're going to put actual numbers, and I'm going to try my best to do this in actual numbers. So let's say your rate is $10 an hour, and it took you 6 hours to make 50 cookies. Okay. Again, you're not making 50 cookies, but let's just give that as an example. So how long does it say? So $60. So 10 times 6 hours, that's $60. $60 divided by 50 is going to be the labor cost per each individual cookies.
Perfect. Well, I think those are all of the questions that we have tonight. So thank you everyone so much for joining. Sid, if you want to take us home, I'll pass it over to you.
Yes, sounds good. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for watching as well, tuning in live, or either watching on the blog or watching on YouTube. Like I said, don't forget to like the video if you're watching on YouTube, and also subscribing to the channel. This is a really great resource. Cast Iron is doing awesome things in educating so many of us in the community as to how to grow our businesses, how to have the right tools for pricing, for taking good pictures, for all of the things, right? So make sure that you stay plugged in with Cast Iron, and also use the platform as well to start selling your baked goods, your treats, your items, whatever it is, homemade items, because I don't want to I'm so stuck into cake, but cake, cookies, bagels, kombucha drinks, whatever it is that you sell. Cast iron is a really good place for that. I've worked on so many different other platforms, web-based, like web design platforms, and this is actually the one that got it right for our industry and making it to where we have all the tools we need to be able to sell to our community. So definitely tap in to Cast Iron, and also get into the Facebook group and connect with other sellers in our industry as well. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. Hopefully we'll see you on the 14th on Instagram and the 21st when we don't know what we're talking about, but we will know by then. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.